Charles Barkley, what are you doing?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's Recruiting Thursday. We'll get to recruiting talk in just a second. Brian Smith, host of the Portal Locked On's daily recruiting and NIL and transfer portal show. We'll talk about Auburn's huge recruiting weekend coming up, as well as the psychology behind moving visits around and what that could mean, specifically with Landon Duckworth later this month. But let's start on the NIL side of things here, Brian. Charles Barkley, always good for a quote, and I think overshared a little bit yesterday because, what's the upside with the statement that he made yesterday? And just for folks to get full context here, a few weeks ago, he said, hey, I'm not going to be in a situation where I'm giving millions of dollars every year to not get that money back. So I'm not going to be as active in giving for Auburn's NIL. Okay, fine, whatever. Wednesday morning, he went on WJOX, Jocks up in Birmingham, McElroy and Kublik in the morning. And he said, quote, I've given more money to Auburn, legal or illegal, than any athlete in the history of the school. And the notion that I'm going to come up with a couple $1 million every year so that we could be good at basketball and football, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Brian, your reaction to Charles Barkley?
Charles likes to make statements to get reactions, and he has accomplished his goal once again.
Yeah.
The part about illegal, look, he's made statements before publicly about this, so people being surprised shouldn't. That's A. I'll give a little story here in a minute. But B, he's a guy that likes to have some fun with it, and I think he kind of wanted a reaction. You think I'm wrong on that? Do you think he enjoys the reaction part? Because he's been laughed at many times on TBS and stuff because he's a goofball, but he's a good-natured guy. But he has donated. I've heard that he's donated a lot to Auburn in the past. That's pretty accurate, right?
Yeah. I mean, and some of that is public and some of that is assumed as far as NIL. No NIL giving is public unless the donor wants it to be, right?
Right.
Which is part of the questions about, how much are these people actually getting paid and all that. But yeah, the legal or illegal thing, it's just like, why? Why say it? Why say it at all?
That part would not be the wisest part of the statement. I'll leave it at that. But
I think most people would be like, yeah, okay. And I think this is how the NIL situation fixes itself from a market standpoint is eventually you're going to have rich people that are tired of giving $2, $3, $4 million every single year and not getting anything back, including a championship, because there's only one of those that's happening every single year. So there's a lot of rich people giving a lot of money that aren't getting that return on investment. I don't think anybody's questioning that. It's just why say legal or illegal when you're talking about the school that you love, that you're he's one of the biggest faces of Auburn athletics. I don't know. I wish he hadn't said that.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of questions, and I'm not sure what that is. I tried to figure that out, and I don't have even a list to start on. What would number one be for that? What's the positive out of that? And to be honest, Zach, I don't think there is one. So do a lot of teams cheat in basketball to get players, and have they forever? Yeah. Have they done it in football? Yeah. But you don't have to state that you were one of the guys.
It's like, how do you benefit from that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, okay, what does Charles get from? Okay, he doesn't. So
unless he wants this. Unless he just wants the conversation to be about comments, but I feel like he would be past that at this point.
There's really nothing else that he can do. He's played in the Olympics. He's a Hall of Famer. He's on TV all the time. He does.
Yeah, one of the most entertaining guys in sports. Yeah.
100%. He's like him or dislike him. You can't say that he's not entertaining.
100%. 100%. No, there's just so much tied, and he knows this. I mean, he's been an Auburn guy for forever. Of just anytime there's any sort of success at Auburn, people want to, poke and prod and say, yeah, but y'all are doing, this wrong or whatever. And it's just, Why invite that, I guess, is my biggest question. But I mean, the fact of the matter is like, he's above it. He doesn't care. It doesn't impact him. That's the truth of all of it.
Yeah, Barkley probably doesn't look at it from as broad a perspective as what Mr. Blackerby or Mr. Smith does. That would be my in the Auburn fan base in general, for that matter. But to those that don't know, I think that NIL money, whether it's Barkley's or not, has helped the sport immensely. Let's just get a real simple point. Bama and Georgia had an insane monopoly because they had 5-stars sitting on their third team that aren't sitting on their third team anymore.
Right.
Basketball, same way. Do you think Auburn basketball makes that run without NIL?
No.
I don't either.
No, because you have Janai Broom testing the NBA waters.
Right. Like
instead.
If you got a guaranteed sum, if you come back, you don't know exactly how the draft's going to go. They can give you prognostication. You can ask Shedeur Sanders what that prognostication was too and how that go.
Yeah, so, and also just the nature of like, if you're not a first half of the whatever sport we're talking about, first round guy in NBA, first 4 rounds in the NFL, I mean, it's kind of a risk at that point. Like you could say, yeah, I'm probably a second round guy in the NBA, or I'm probably a day 3 pick in the NFL. There's a lot of guys that feel that way and they don't get drafted. And so now it's so much safer just to take the NIL money. And it's not quite as much, but it's competitive, it's close, and it's a sure thing. It's a sure thing.
You don't ever have to pay for a house payment if you do that. I mean, how many people?
If you manage it right, you can set yourself up for life 100%.
You can buy.
Some guys do, and some guys don't.
Well, yeah, that's another story.
Yeah.
From a financial perspective, it's on you if you don't. But like if you get $700K to come play at a school for a year or stay at a school like Auburn for a year, you should be happy. That's why that was the only thing with Barkley's statement. To me, he makes a lot of there's stuff I don't want to get into in his whole statement, but like these kids are getting an opportunity. A lot of them come from nothing. What am I getting out of this? Well, you're helping kids. And it's not like you're going to change where you eat or play golf or what car you drive.
Yeah.
He's got everything anyway. If he gave $1 million a year to Auburn, would it change what he did tomorrow? No. So
no.
I take a little exception with that. He could have worded it better. I don't think it was mean-spirited or anything, but Charles probably could have worded that in a better fashion. I'll leave it at that.
Maybe so. I mean, everything he does is so tied to Auburn. Whether that's something he asked for or not, I don't know. But fact of the matter is, he is one of the spokesmen for Auburn athletics because he is who he is and he has a platform that he does. And as you said, it's entertaining as can be. So legal or illegal, he's given more money, according to him, than any athlete in the history of the school, which is probably true. I'm not pushing back on that. I'm not pushing back on that at all. But once again, I just don't know why you'd word it that way. All right. Well, speaking of getting talent to the Plains, Auburn has a lot of big official visits this weekend. Let's touch on who might be the most important next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. These days are getting longer, the weather's warming up, and people are spending more time outside, which means it's the perfect time to refresh your outdoor space. We literally did this 2 weeks ago. My family, we expanded our back patio, and now we have new furniture on our expanded patio, and we got it from Wayfair. Wayfair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. They've got a massive selection of outdoor essentials that make it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've got it all. And it's all at a price that fits your budget. I'm always amazed by how quick the furniture gets here. It took like 2 days. Took 2 days. And it was, we put it together that afternoon. It was awesome. You can shop a selection of outdoor furniture online this summer. Get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That is WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Brian Smith, host of The Portal, here with you. Thanks for making Locked On Auburn your first listen. Make The Portal your second listen every single day. We got to start with Tank Jones. Anthony Jones on 3 has him as the number 1 player. Excuse me, they have him as the number 2 player in the state. Depends on where you look. It's either him or CD Morgan. But the edge rusher from Mobile has had a very interesting recruitment, to say the least.
That is kind. I remember one of the first days that I'd moved to Auburn, I went over to campus. I interviewed him, great kid. And I remember saying to myself, this kid can't drive a car yet. And he looks like he's getting ready to go to the draft, except for the face. Like, you can tell he was young. But I'm like, this is what an NFL defensive end looks like.
Yeah.
6'4", 235, 240, and just chiseled. Now he's got every school in the country coming after him. I've heard Auburn, I've heard Bama, and most recently I've heard Texas A&M was trending for him. I think he's what you would call a young man that is overwhelmed because, as we all know, pass rushers are a premium.
Yeah.
And I like the player that Auburn has committed, Hezekiah, but I would take Tank over him because I just think he's got a chance to be a strong side end and be a power rusher or a speed. Like, those are really rare. Most strong side ends can't rush the passer to save their life.
Sure.
I think he could do both.
Yeah. And
that makes you really, really valuable. But maybe
those strong side ends that can rush the passer are first-round draft picks.
100%. Yeah. Bosa, those kind of guys, that's what I think of. I'm not saying he's Joey Bosa, but you get the point.
Yeah.
And the kid's a really nice kid. He's from St. Paul's. He's from a great program. All the things that you want.
Everything you want.
If Auburn is going to beat Bama and Georgia, let's be honest, that's what this comes down to. When are we going to beat Bama and Georgia? It's probably a question you get all the time when you go to a restaurant or anywhere else. You got to win more.
I wake up in the middle of the night, ask myself that.
Okay, well, that's another question for yourself. There you go.
Sure.
If you don't win Mobile, you're not.
Right.
And Mobile per capita, like mid-sized city, is as good as it gets for NFL talent in the nation.
Yeah.
Kids like this are why. It is always good for linemen, too. I don't know what it is. And when Auburn loses those battles, they lose to Bama and Georgia even more often than they normally do.
Yeah, and thankfully, those losses are slowly turning more and more into wins, which is exactly what you need. Now, you got to continue that momentum. When you look at the edge guys, or guys who are listed as edge rushers that are coming in this weekend, Anthony Tank Jones, Bryce Perry Wright, the edge from Buford, Trenton Henderson from Pensacola. And then you've got defensive lineman Ernest Rankins from Decatur, Bodney Cleveland, who's he might be my favorite guy in this class. Very, very big on him. But we've talked before about, Auburn, they're casting a wide net for edge rushers for sure. Now, how many they want to take, we'll see. And different people have different opinions. But the fact of the matter is you've got 3 guys listed as edge rushers coming in this weekend with Anthony Jones, Bryce Perry Wright, and Trenton Henderson. Like, you got Hezekiah Harris already committed. It's clear that they are prioritizing edge rusher.
Well, Trenton Henderson, some think he's the best player in Florida. Upside, he probably is. But
do you think he's the best player in Florida?
He doesn't go to any camps or anything. I haven't seen him live, so I don't want to go that far. But he's top 10. He was a receiver, and then all of a sudden he just got a lot bigger.
Okay.
He went from like 6'4", 195 to 225, and they put his hand in the dirt, and he's really athletic and long. Like, he looks like an NFL pass rusher, kind of like Tank. So if you got either one of those, you'd be ahead of the curve. And you're still after some of these other guys too. The defensive tackles are important, but they're in on, like, they're still trying to get Ely from Maryland, etc. I don't know who they're going to get, but like if they missed on all of them, it would be surprising.
That'd be surprising. Yeah. And like, I don't think they need 5, right? And they're targeting 10 to 12. We've talked about so many. And as long as you hold on to Hezekiah Harris, and you get 3 of these guys, like, okay.
That's a home run. Yeah. That would
Yeah. So Trenton Henderson, Pensacola Catholic. I assume that's a decent level of competition, but educate us on that.
Is. Yeah. Catholic is always one of the programs that has D1 kids. Okay. I was there a couple of years ago for practice. They had 2 or 3 guys that were going to go on to play. One of them ended up going to Penn State. He transferred, but he went to Penn State. They had some other kids. They are one of the schools that gets circled by the other teams on the local schedule. Everybody, okay, we're playing Catholic.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and they've got real coaching. Question is, like, this kid's raw because he didn't play it early. His upside is just through the roof. Like, he's the first round pick in the draft guy if he figures it out. But there's no guarantee he will. But 6'4", 225, and like his legs are like grasshopper. He's all legs.
Yeah. On three, with their RPM percentages and all that, they've got Auburn at 30%, leading the way, then Michigan behind them at 18%. So that'd be a huge get. That'd be a huge get for the Tigers. Let's talk about Bryce Perry Wright for a second, the edge rusher out of Buford, Georgia. I know you like that area of high school football a ton. It's one of your favorites, sounds like. Some people think there's a lot of smoke here that Auburn may push really hard for him this weekend. What do you like in Bryce Perry Wright as a prospect and a target?
Well, for one, just a good kid. I've met him before at Auburn. Really good kid. He would fit in well. He's like the 6'1", 250. I don't know who put that up. That needs to be changed. He's more like 280. But he's going to be a 3-tech. But he's a massive kid. And he's a get off the snap and disrupt the play guy. He's a 1-gap and go. And he's got the frame. If you needed him to add a little more weight, be a 2-gap. Those guys are rare as all get out. So if you can get him, and he's from the greater Atlanta area, for those that don't know, Buford's just a little bit northeast of Atlanta. That's the kind of program where you have to recruit every year. And it's probably one they call or text every week. And I'm being very conservative with that. Right. So, because they've got 5 kids a year, I would imagine that they would be ecstatic. His offer list is through the roof. Clemson wants him, and they're the most selective team in the country with recruiting, literally. So that puts it in perspective. I don't know if UGA is really after him. They're really weird about height with D linemen, but everybody else has pretty much offered him.
According to this, it looks like it's Auburn and Clemson.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. And Clemson they run pretty much what Auburn does. So that matches. They want to get up the field and be very disruptive. And they've done a great job over God knows how many years, 15. Sure. But I would imagine that Auburn their goal is going to be very simple. We need to knock this out of the park and him not take more visits. Clemson, in my opinion, does the best job on official visit weekend of any school in the country for getting kids to commit. I don't know what the heck it is they do down there, but they really do a great job. So if he leaves and he ends up taking the Clemson visit, you run a risk. Yeah.
Yeah. And then let's just spend a second on defensive linemen that are listed here. Ernest Rankins from Decatur, Vodney Cleveland, obviously in-state defensive tackle. I mean, I love Vodney Cleveland's game. I love it.
Vodney plays at Parker. They won state championship last year. He's a kid that's kind of growing into it. He's just over 300 pounds, and he's got that big barrel chest. He looks like a Southeastern Conference defensive tackle.
And just the way he moves that size.
Yeah, he's really athletic.
Yeah.
When he wants to go, he can go.
Right.
It's up to him. Like when he's motivated, it's not much fun.
Anything on Rankins? I don't know if you and I have talked about Ernest Rankins before.
I've seen him at Auburn. He's listed at 6'4" by on 3. There's no way. He's taller than that. He's 6'5", 6'6".
Okay.
And this is a kid that he looks like a future NFL player. Again, this, by the way, just overall, this is as good a small list for official visits as any school is going to have in the country this weekend. Auburn's is elite. Rankins is one of the reasons why. He's one of the top guys on the board for Georgia, for Auburn, for Ole Miss, LSU, and a ton of other schools. Because you can't teach the frame. Like, he's got a unique skill set. He's got a big body, but he's really long limb too.
Right.
He could be a power end in a 3-4, or he could be a D tackle, maybe even a nose guard. Those guys are pretty darn rare.
Right. All right. I want to talk about the lack of quarterback this weekend with Landon Duckworth moving his visit and possible implications of that, as well as there's some other guys coming in this weekend too that we need to talk about. All that next right here on Locked On Auburn. We did a show earlier this week hyping up the importance of the visit of Landon Duckworth's official this weekend. He has rescheduled it. He scooted it back 2 weeks to May 30th. That's when he was supposed to take his OV to Georgia. That doesn't seem to be happening now, according to Jeffrey Lee of On 3. What's interesting about that, though, is one, I want my official visit as late as possible. So I actually think it's great for Auburn that he scooted it back some. What I think is more interesting about this, Brian, is another player that's visiting that weekend, reportedly, is Travis Burges. So what's the strategy in your mind of your we assume two top quarterback targets, having them visit at the same time?
I would imagine they know each other. They were at the same event I was at. They were standing next to each other, so I don't think there's any ill will. And they're both really nice guys, by the way.
Okay.
So maybe they're just going to sit her down like, okay, it's pretty obvious here. and just kind of go from there. I mean, from my experience, I haven't spoken to anybody at Auburn that wasn't a chill guy. Like, everybody's really laid back. They're not going to try to force feed either one of these guys a bunch of baloney.
Right.
They're going to tell them where they stand and why. So I think it's a smart thing because the parents will respect that. The high school coaches they deal with, their 7 on all that will respect it. So I love the strategy. The question is, which one of them do they, and I have no idea on this, which one does Auburn think they have a better chance at? And if, I don't know what their preference is.
Which one do you think Auburn has a better chance with?
Probably Burges.
That's my gut reaction too.
I think that once Lane Kiffin sucks his meat hooks into a quarterback, it can be pretty hard. Duckworth likes him a lot, and he gets along with their staff well. Duckworth fits their offense too because of the RPO aspect. It's not much different than what Auburn runs, really. But anyway, he likes them a lot. I don't think Florida State's got much of a chance. Georgia's now out because they got Jared Curtis.
Right.
There's a few other possibilities. You know, I've heard North Carolina is kind of involved too, but whatever. I still think it'll end up being Ole Miss or Auburn. This is a timing deal. If one of them is just dead set on being done earlier than the other, this happens all the time. You get first pick. That's on the kid because I highly doubt Auburn would tell Duckworth or Burgess no if they called him tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you take whichever one says, hey, yeah, I'm in, and you say, cool, awesome. That's it. You're our quarterback in this class.
That's the way I would look at it. And I doubt that's any different at any other school because they're at least similar. Now, Duck is ranked higher. I think he has a higher ceiling because his mobility is insane, but neither one is polished yet. They're just trending in the right direction. They both know what it's like to win a state title, all the little things, and they're good guys. They all fit Auburn, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So now it's just development. That's that you got to believe in your coaching staff. So obviously we're going to do that. Who wants to come?
Yeah. All right. Let's spend a few seconds on running back and then transition offensive lineman. 2 running backs as of the time of us recording this expected to be here on officials this weekend. Derek Cooper, the running back from Fort Lauderdale. Seems like Miami and Georgia both want him. And then Jay Lamar from Colquitt County. Georgia seems to be the leader there. Then maybe Auburn has a shot. We'll learn more about both of these guys after this weekend, hopefully. But your thoughts on both of these 4-star running backs?
Well, for what it's worth, my running back rankings are getting ready to come out, and Cooper's my number 1 running back in the country. Okay.
Is Jay Lamar on there at all?
Oh, yes. He's top 10 as well. He is an animal. He plays in one of my favorite programs at Colquitt County. They are both violent downhill runners that are over 6 foot. They both look the part. They both could play other positions. It doesn't even matter what spot. They could play linebacker, strong safety. They're freaks. So they were the kids that had every offer pretty much by the end of their sophomore year. That's what kind of level we're talking about. Auburn's going big game hunting here. Do I think they're going to get either one? I doubt they get Cooper. But Lamar, they got a chance. And like his recruitment has been hard. Georgia wants him. That's always iffy with the Georgia kid. But he's a South Central Georgia kid. He's not like from Atlanta or that area near Athens. So it's a little easier. Yeah. And Auburn's always had a lot of success with those kids. So it's big county schools. For those that don't know, Colquitt County is literally the only high school in that county. They want to win at football. That's why they don't want to break up the school.
If Georgia gets Derek Cooper,
then it changes the ball game. Yeah.
Yeah. Is Auburn in a good spot to get Lamar at that point?
It absolutely helps. I would think. Now, if they both wanted to go to the same school, more power to them, but that usually doesn't happen.
Are they similar backs? Like, would they work on the same team or like?
They are able to run over you, but they both have the speed to hit the home run. They can both really catch. I've seen them both play live. They can both catch the ball very well. They are NFL type running backs. Third down, they can stay in and pass protect. This is what you're looking for.
All right. Yeah. So keep an eye out there and Derek Cooper is teammates with Denarius Gray, correct?
That is correct. And among numerous other players that are.
Yeah. But as far as like Auburn ties, the first member of Auburn's 2026 class, Denarius Gray. Okay, then let's talk offensive lineman for a second. Got 2 guys listed as tackles coming in, and then 1 interior offensive lineman at the time of us recording this. Dalton Toothman, who I'm getting more and more fond of the more I learn about him, but Mississippi State guy. A lot of people saying that he could be the next to pop for the Tigers. We'll see. 6'5", 290 is what he's listed at. Dominique Harris from Las Vegas. is another one, 6'7", 320. I mean, okay. And then interior offensive lineman Deron Parks from Sarasota, Florida. Sounds like Ohio State's going after him, which you always like to see. And then Auburn appears to be in it as well. All three of those guys will be here this weekend.
Parks is a kid you and I talked about after I saw him at the Under Armour event in Orlando. Auburn was the leader then.
You interviewed him.
Yeah. He's a great kid. He is somebody that I would not want to be fitting the grocery bill. He's about 340, and he is still very light on his feet. Guard or tackle, I don't care. Just sign him.
Okay. You don't care about the ranking because he's not ranked very highly.
I take my eyes from 10 feet away over any ranking.
Love that.
And he still has a ton of offers. The question is whether or not he's going to play guard or tackle. If he was in even better shape, he'd be ranked a lot higher. He needs to lose 30 pounds. But so do like 90% of the kids that UGA takes and Alabama takes.
Yeah.
It's worked out for those programs. So I'm good with it.
Yeah.
He's got feet. He's very powerful. I would take him in a heartbeat. Now, the other two, I don't know on a personal level, but they're national recruits. And by the way, I just want to throw that this because Zach loves it. Anytime Auburn brings in an offensive lineman for visits, it makes Zach happy.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So
I mean, they need some tackles in this class for certain. So, I mean, it seems like they're going to be, I forgot who I was talking to earlier this week. May have been Kyle talking about how he's hearing that they may be somewhat forward with Toothman, saying like, let's wrap this up.
Well, there you go. That would be a nice start. If you can get somebody this weekend, then you can really narrow your focus. If you get 2 tackles in a class that are good in any year, you're usually pretty darn happy.
Yeah, because you don't need them all to work out. If you're taking 2 a year, you don't need them all to be like SEC level.
And one of them could move inside too. Maybe a guy ends up playing guard because you just got 2.
And this might be what Toothman does. He might actually be a guard. Yeah,
he could. You give the kid a chance. If it doesn't work out, you move him inside.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't work, just go be a dentist with your last name, Toothman.
Oh, that would Doctor.
No,
I mean, come on, man. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Great. Some people just drove off the road because of that dad joke. So sorry. Brian, tell everybody what you got going on. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, we got this weekend, as we just talked about, is the beginning of the recruiting stretch. This is my time of year. For now until 4th of July weekend, every day is commitment day, literally.
Yep.
So Auburn, Bama, Texas, you name it, there's going to be a big commitment every day. We cover it on the Portal podcast. There'll still be a little bit of Portal sprinkled in too. Going to have some NIL stories, a lot of rankings, but all of it on the Portal podcast.
Yeah, man, we covered a lot of ground today. A lot of kids, moving visits, and Charles Barkley. How about that? Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.